I welcome you to Inovare. Yeah, this is where we innovate. This is the podcast where changes are made. If you're not growing, then you're dying. Innovation is the key to surviving. This is Inovare, where we ain't scared to make that change and create a new way. If you're ready to learn and sit back and just chill, it's about to get real. This is Inovare.
What's up, everybody, and welcome on into another episode of the Inovare podcast. As my Jack the Skeleton head falls off my head, but I am Jack Skeleton today, and welcome into a edition of the Halloween edition of the Inovare podcast. And I have some great guests to scare us and make it so we can't sleep at night. So that is going to be excellent. Really looking forward to this conversation with Mari Molefe Van Heerden. She's a South African TV star, producer, and co-star of the upcoming horror film, The Heks. We are also joined, this is our first time doing two guests at once, which is also a new, joined by Coco Lloyd. And she's an LA-based actress and star of the same film that'll be hitting movie theaters on December 15th. The movie centers on a grieving British girl who tries to unravel her murdered mother's secrets that are connected to South Africa. So nothing gets more scary than that. And welcome on in, guys. How are you doing?
Hi.
Oh.
Doing great, thank you.
So thank you so much for joining me. I'm really looking forward to this. It just happens to be Halloween, so we are obviously in our costumes. So I am ready to get scared. So thank you for joining me. And I know that you guys we're on all kinds of different time zones here. So thank you so much for taking the time to hop on here and making it work.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity so we can talk about our film. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So Mari, we'll start with you. And so you're the producer of this and you're a screenwriter. And so tell me about the journey to producing films and where your journey has taken you.
Well, thanks, Roy. First of all, I studied acting at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. And I started doing radio work. I was a presenter, acting. I got my first big role on a local South African series called Villa Rosa. I was there for 3 years. And then I had to quit because people hated me so much because I was a really bad, my character wasn't easy. And then I met Raina through Villa Rosa, and we started a company called Twin Hearts, and then she met Coco, and we all made this lovely baby called Heks.
Awesome. And so, Coco, I assume you just woke up one day and decided to go into acting, and then stumbled onto the movie set, right? That's your story?
I mean, pretty much. You could say that for sure. Just a few little blocks in between, but it's pretty much like that.
And so tell me about your upbringing and tell me about your journey to film.
Yeah, I grew up in a tiny little town in Hertfordshire in England called Hitchin, and I did stage school growing up. My first breaks were actually in music, so I went towards music first, but I still did little acting roles here and there. And then finally a few years ago decided to concentrate on acting and had a few little breaks out here in America until I met Raina. And then my passion has always been horror. So when I heard about Heks, I was so excited because, I mean, who doesn't love horror? But, being in a horror is even cooler.
Yeah, so I'm terrified of horror films. We went over this a little bit in the pre-show. So this is new for me, talking about horror films. My wife is really into the murder mystery shows and the documentaries. And so, of course, for whatever reason, I know that you guys are into that as well. We talked about it a little bit, but that's part of like her nighttime routine is we turn on something that their husband was murdered in cold blood. And so I'm to lay there and not have nightmares. So
I can relate with your wife every single night. Like I can't sleep without like putting like a murder mystery series, like those monotone voices, just like suss me to sleep. So I watch it every night.
Oh my gosh. Coco, are you the same way?
Fascinating. Like, I don't know. It sounds really creepy. I find all these serial killer documentaries just so interesting. I'm like, how can you be that way and other people are a different way mentally? It's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And so
that's exactly why I watch it, like to try to figure out why this person would go so far for something simple as like, I want all the money in the world, so I'm going to kill someone.
Right.
Like what is that trigger that goes wrong inside your brain that would like you to make things like do something like that?
And so in being in horror, is that something that you tap into, that you try to get into the mind of a killer? Marie, I'll start with you on that one. Is that something that, I know you watch a lot of these documentaries, you're interested in the mindset, the mental aspects of this, of what can take somebody to do that. Is that something you really take in when you're portraying somebody on the screen?
Well, it also depends what type of horror, because there's different types of horror. You get those like the gory blood type films, and then you get those creepy films that there's something in the corner of the room that's dark and you don't really know what it is. That's fascinating to me, because like for each person that watched that movie has a different visualization of what is in the dark, and that's what's fascinating and so interesting to me, and that's why I love horror so much, because what a horror for me is different what you think and what you see.
Yeah. Coco, is for you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, because I think that even when I talk to my friends and I say, oh, did you see this film? For me, it's terrifying because it hits all my triggers of what I think is scary. But for someone else, it might be something completely different, and they find the whole bloody gory part, like, where people are having their arms chopped off and stuff like that, they find that horrifying. Whereas for me, it's more psychological.
Yeah. I like the psychological thrillers. I can tolerate those. It's the jump out and scare you ones. Those ones for me, I have to. Those are the ones that I have to watch at like noon. The lights are on. Yeah, all the lights are on. So
you're one of those people that after you watch a horror film, directly after you have to watch a comedy or like something.
Yes.
Oh my God. Before you go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I am. I have to watch. So we started watching a few horror films at night, and then I have my go-to like comedy TV shows that, my wife just rolls over. Okay, good night, and it's like we just watched this movie about people murdering their whole family, and I have to sit up there. I'm up for another 45 minutes or something, watching The Office or something to bring my blood pressure back down. Yeah. So when we're talking about this mindset, Coco, when you're getting ready for this film, The Heks, was there some sort of a mindset that you looked into to ready yourself for the film, or how did you prepare yourself with your own mindset in getting ready for this picture?
For sure. I mean, for my role particularly, Delane has so many different elements to her journey in the respect that she's also grieving. So it's not even just about, what she's discovering about her mom. It's also about the fact that she's missing her mom so much. So she has that conflict as well, which was really difficult to sort of blend the two together in a really heartfelt, grounded way. So I just had to take a lot of inspiration from my own life, as well as the creative part of her from the grieving side as well.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's a lot of elements there. Grieving, horror. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, have you guys both done multiple different genres, or have you stuck with horror? Marie, I'll start with you. As you kind of mentioned that horror was kind of like your path, but you had done TV in the past.
Heks was the first horror big feature film that I worked on. Me and Raina, who's the writer and director of Heks, and a friend of mine, we filmed like small little short films, but this was the first big one that we made. And I also played two characters in the film as well. I play the witch doctor, and then I play the occupational therapist as well. Wow.
And Coco, with you, is this? Do you have you been through horror in the past? Like, was this something you sought out, or it was a new journey for you, or what is your road to horror like?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same actually as Marie's. I've done a bunch of horror shorts, a ton of them, but just not a horror feature before. And that was what was so exciting. I'd always wanted to have the opportunity of a horror feature. And so when I heard about this, Yes, and also bonus, I get to see South Africa and experience the culture, which is even better because it's like a whole new side of horror that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, traveling is, I would say that's a perk of the job for sure, getting to travel to new places. And so I'll just ask both of you then. Coco, we'll start with you since you just brought it up. You said you'd always wanted to get into horror and you always wanted to be in a horror film. So like why? I don't mean to like why, but like why? Like growing up, was that like you were just like watched horror films or like what drove you to horror?
Yeah, so I think the first horror film I ever watched was the original The Fly. I don't even know if you class that as a horror. I think you do. And then shortly after that, Arachnophobia, and then The Exorcist. And I just loved the thrill that it gave me. And I just got hooked on horror films and murder mysteries and all sorts of things connected to thrillers. And so as a child, that's all I would watch. And everyone thought I was really creepy. And they're like, why does she want to watch all these horrors? But to me, I got excited by that. It's not like I don't love watching comedies, but it's not the same thrill you get when you watch a horror.
Yeah, different emotions for sure. And and Marie, you grew up. Is that a similar story to you? You grew up watching horror and fell in love with it at a young age, or?
No. I only started I think in my early 20s. I only started liking horror films. As you know, in South Africa, Halloween is not a thing at all. And I was as I grew up, I tapped into this little thing called horrors, and I started watching movies. For a certain time in my life, I stopped watching it. I think it was the film The Birds, offered to Hitchcock's The Birds. I will never forget the first time I watched that film, and I prefer not to watch it ever again because it literally gave me the fear of birds. It's insane. I'm scared now. Every time something flies close to me, I freak out and my heart stops. It's insane. But I got over that kind of, and then I watched different type of horror films, and I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
So what is your guys now we'll get into the types of horror, right? So you had mentioned this, Marie, a little bit prior too, or saying that for somebody like me, horror is horror. I mean, I know nowadays, I've gotten in the last couple of years, I know that there are psychological thrillers, and then there are, there's suspense and gore and everything like that. But do you have a particular brand of horror that you prefer more than others, both watching and playing or portraying on the screen?
I like to be in the blood and gore side of horrors because it's fascinating how the makeup works and how they actually make up the blood and gore of all the pieces. But watching blood and gore kind of feels like a comedy to me because it's so unrealistic. So I like those type of horrors where you don't really know exactly what's hiding behind you or something in the dark, what's lurking in the shadows. That is scary because that could happen. Even something like The Panic Room or it's simple movies, but realistic. That's scary. Not the blood and gore and where I chop my arm off because and there's a pipe with fake blood. That's not scary. That's funny.
Okay. Coco, is that similar to you? You enjoy the makeup and the or what's your favorite? What's your take on that? Which ones do you enjoy watching and enjoy portraying the most?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's obviously the makeup's amazing when they do the blood and gore stuff, but for me, it's ghosts. Ghosts are the scariest thing. The Ring terrified me. Just terrified me. Paranormal Activities. I didn't sleep, even though it wasn't like there was anything on the screen that was scary. But you know that when you go to sleep, something's going to get you, and that really freaks me out. I didn't sleep for weeks. And then I also enjoy the futuristic elements. So the Purge series, even though it was gory, I just thought to myself, that could literally happen. Someone could do that in the future. And the fact that it's just all out there and anyone can do anything on that one night, that thought is so terrifying. So it's the psychological part, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the Purge is a scary concept. It totally is. And the other movies like that where it's that real, this could happen. You have no proof that it couldn't, but to your point, Mary, somebody who's getting their arms chopped off and running around with with blood everywhere. A slightly different feel to a movie, and you're pulling on different emotions too. As a producer and as an actress in a film, you know that going in, or do you, as to how the viewer is going to react?
Yes and no, because I think everyone watches a movie differently. Like, I see things different than how you would watch a movie and what you get out of the movie. But like I said, like the shadows, or something that lurks in the shadows, I might picture it as like some child or a mother or something. You might think it's a monster or dragon or whatever. Like, it's different for all of us.
Yeah. And Coco, how much do you think about the viewer and how they're portraying the scene, or do you think about that at all?
I try not to think about it, because then you're sort of trying to cater to what you think people will like, rather than what's sort of centered in the reality. But yeah, I mean, it's worrying. I always try and I always want people to be scared, but you can't control what people will think. So
yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting point you both make, where you're saying that, you know, everybody thinks different things are scary, where, you know, we could watch the same film, we could watch the same TV show, or be involved in the same moment in time and pull different bits of it, right? Or something will be scary, or like you said, somebody getting their arms cut off with the blood out of the hose, that's like a comedy to you because you understand the unrealistic nature of it, where to me that's, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. And so
I think also because I studied acting and film, like after my studies, it's actually quite sad, because now that I watch a movie, I don't just enjoy a movie and watch a movie. I analyze the movie. I'm like, oh, that shot's weird and wrong, and oh, look, there's a continuity mistake, or oh, that's the shot, that's what they tried to do, or that is a cool thing. So I never like just sit back and relax and watch a movie. So
yeah, that's tough, right? That's your industry, so that you're critiquing and you see things that the average person wouldn't see. And Coco, I assume you living in LA, that there's a lot of that going on, where that whole community, that whole base is like that, right? I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to look at it from you know, an outsider's point of view in the industry, and either critique or, you know, think, oh, you know, maybe they could have done it like this. But at the same time, I try again not to do that. I just try and watch it for what it is and be like, oh wow, this is incredible. And to be honest, anyone who can make a movie, doesn't matter if I like it or dislike it, hats off to them, because it's so tough, especially in LA or anywhere around the world. It is a tough business. So if you have a movie made, that's incredible.
Yeah. So let's touch on that for a moment. Since it is so difficult to make a movie and put together production, there's so much that goes into it. Throughout your journeys, Marie, we'll start with you. Throughout your journeys, what's a lesson, one of the best lessons, or one of the best teaching points that you've taken from your journey and has stuck with you?
I think don't be afraid of rejection, because there's going to be a lot of rejection in your career, like in my career as an actor or producer even. It's acting, and our industry is a lot of hard work, long hours, and if you have the determination and you can make a film, then go for it and just do it.
Yeah. And Coco, what's a lesson that you've taken through your journey?
I echo that one. That was going to be one of the ones that I was going to say. Obviously, you have to try and not take it personally when people tell you no, because it happens 10 times a day, and you have to try and see that it's not you, it's just what they're particularly looking for. But the other thing that I've come to realize more and more in my career is that I used to be really focused on, okay, this is my career and this is my whole world and this is what I have to do every single day for all of the hours of the day. But like, you have to find time to live life happily. And because of that rejection, a lot of negativity creeps into your life, and you feel like you should be doing as much as someone else is doing, as you perceive it, that they're doing more than you. And it's not the case. Your journey is completely your journey. It's unique. And, you know, if you take 2 years off and then come back to it, whatever you're doing, as long as you're making yourself happy and being creative, then that is the most important thing.
How do you deal with that when there are so many in LA, right? That's a huge community where there are tons of people who are, could be going out for the same role, or maybe you're there's, I think of LA where everyone is an actor or an actress, and that when you go out to the bar, then you guys are having a beer or whatever, and you could be cheersing with somebody who maybe got the part over you or something like that. So how do you deal with the constant competition of the industry?
Yeah, and that happens so often, and I didn't really experience that until I moved to LA. But there is that sense of, and some people, they're very humble and they're super nice, but I've met a lot of people who, deliberately try and, make others feel, strange about their success. And I am not one of those people. If I see someone succeeding, I just feel happy for them. But it does take a lot of, looking within yourself to know that that's their journey and you're really happy for them. And if they become successful, great. But success is really just about, making yourself happy first. And as long as you're doing something you love in your life, then, it doesn't matter what other people are doing. And I think a lot of people in LA should have that mindset, because it's a very tough city. If you feel like you should be having the same career as someone else, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Rejection is a tough thing to deal with, but it can also be a great teacher, where I feel like we learn a lot from our missteps, or our, some people call them failures, whatever, right? I don't see you ever really failing at something. I feel like you win or you learn. That's kind of the way that you can look at it. And so, Marie, in doing that, since you brought it up about the multiple rejections, and so when you're starting out, I assume that a rejection is the end of the world kind of a thing. You are more analyzing your career. Am I doing the right thing? And what am I doing kind of a thing? And so what kind of learning points did you take in just how to analyze rejection?
Well, it took quite some time, especially like my first big lead role was in this TV show called Villa Rosa. And in the first year, there was so many Black people who hated me because I was this like little brat, and I could do, like, in my eyes, could do nothing wrong. And like the South African public just did not like that at all. And I got like Facebook threats, and wow. I was like, what? Like, I'm just acting, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do, and people hate me as a person. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I wanted to stop because that's not nice to hear. If like you acting your heart out and people actually hate you as a person, not even the character.
Right.
I just had to tell myself, like, it's okay. Like, there's a reason why they hate you, because your role is so good. Like, you're doing such a great job. So yeah. And then after that, I got the next role, and then something else came in, and then I started presenting, and I started doing dubbing and voice work, and I was a radio DJ. So everything, like, it took time, but eventually I got more and more roles, and I just had to tell myself, you are okay, you are good enough, else, just shut them off and continue on your journey.
Yeah, I want to follow up on that real quick. You said that people associate you with a character or a role and then begin to form you as an individual around that same character persona that you portrayed. And I do think that does happen when somebody portrays a role extremely well. That doesn't happen when somebody is terrible acting, right? That's so it can be looked as at a compliment, but at the same time it has to be frustrating when you're getting death threats and saying, like, I think of Game of Thrones, which, Coco, I know is that's your favorite show. And so
I've never seen it.
I know. I had to get that in there. But when you're talking about, like, I think of some of the evil characters on there, like Joffrey, for instance. Yes. People hated him, like legitimately hated him, and they was getting death threats, and he said a similar thing where, thank you for loving the portrayal of the character so much that you think that, and so I assume that took time to be able to have that, to develop that mindset to say, look, they hate the character so much, which is actually a compliment. Or what was the thought process there in trying to, there's a lot of self-talk, or how do you get into that mindset?
You just have to have a hard skin in this industry. Just have to. Yeah,
I could see that totally. A lot of rejection, and like for what you're saying, Coco, is I've seen, you had talked on it. You said there's a lot of rejection, and it's not necessarily what you did or didn't do in that role, somebody who could just be looking for something very specific. I watch a lot of one of my favorite things to do with films and TV shows is to look at who didn't get it and look at the audition tapes.
Yeah.
And you see some of the people and you'll recognize a lot of the people, big actors, actresses that didn't get these roles. And you're thinking, well, how could they have not gotten it? And so when you're doing that, when you're going out for these roles and you're understanding, look, I wasn't right for this role. Did you always think that way, or was that something you had to learn, Coco?
Oh no, like when I was a teenager, if I didn't get a part, I'd cry for days. I would sit home, cry, thinking, oh no, like it's me, I'm a terrible actress, they don't like me, why don't they like me? And it's the bigger the part, or even if it was a small line in a big, I'm like, why not me, and why this person? And then eventually I just came to the decision that, as long as, because there have been auditions where I've gone in and I've thought, okay, I didn't do my best there, or if I screwed up a line or like something happened, then I'll really beat myself up because I feel like, okay, I didn't do the best I could do. They didn't see the best of me. But the ones that I go in and I feel like I did the absolute best I could do, you just have to be at peace with it, because it could come down to something just as simple as the fact that the other person matched the other actor better than you. It might not even be that you did a bad performance. It might be something completely out of your control that no one could possibly know, and they might have just gone a different direction. And even if they did think you suck, well, you can't please everyone. As long as you did the best you could do, I mean, there's nothing else you can do. And I still have the moments where I cry if I don't get a part. That's just natural. It's just, you have to just deal with it.
Yeah, it's part of it, right? It's part of life. But yeah, that is it's a hard teaching lesson, and I think it's an excellent mindset to have, and to know that we're not supposed to get every role, right? In life in general, right? It doesn't have to be a movie position, but sometimes we get our hearts and minds set on something, and we think that that's the end all be all. But whether we were meant for something else, and that's okay, and that's a tough lesson to learn.
Yeah.
So guys, let's get into it being Halloween Eve. Let's get into some of your favorite Halloween stories or movies. And Marie, I'll start with you. Do you have a go-to of what might be your favorite Halloween movie, or what is? I know that you said that you didn't grow up with Halloween, but as you've matured into adulthood, has there been certain traditions that you have liked, or movies that get you in the mood for the October season?
Not really. In South Africa, we don't really celebrate Halloween at all. So sorry.
No, that's.
But I can tell you, recently my favorite series, and please tell me both of you have seen it, The Haunting of Hill House.
I have not seen it.
I've seen it. It's terrifying.
It's amazing and terrifying, but amazing.
So tell me about it. What is it called?
The Haunting of Hill House, and then there's a season 2, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Please watch it. Please watch it with your wife. Please.
I'll watch it with the lights on. I will.
That's fine. That's fine.
And so, Coco, what about you? Did you grow up with Halloween? I know that you said you were originally from England, if I have that correct, right?
Yes. And England, when I was a kid, there was no real trick-or-treat thing, but they've adopted that now from America. So now you're starting to see more and more Halloween stuff coming out. But I always, as a kid, watched Hocus Pocus, and every year, I don't know why, I just have to watch it. It's just a tradition. And then whatever the latest horror films are, sometimes I'll revisit the old favorites. But
yeah. Well, now that we've touched on your Halloween favorites, let's get those out. Now that we've gotten those out of the way, now we can talk about the new Halloween favorite, which will be the Heck. And Marie, you're the producer here. We'll start with you. And what's the movie about? And why are people going to be scared?
Well, the Heks is going to be hopefully scary to everyone. It's about Coco's character, Delane. She witnesses her own mother's death, and then she wants to investigate. And as she investigates, the whole investigation leads her into this very dark and sinister path I don't want to say too much because you
right.
better watch the movie.
That's right.
Yeah. But yes.
So it looks like Coco has dropped here.
Yeah.
So we've lost her for a second. But yeah. So the movie will be hitting theaters December 15th. Do I have that correct? And then
That's correct.
How else can they? You had mentioned that it's going to. How else can they watch the movie if not in theaters?
Well, it'll be available on video on demand on the 15th of December. And then on our website, heksfilm.com, our sales agent from Paris, Mathieu, from Real Suspects, they will provide a link to buy the film as well. And yeah, so for now, people can get it on Amazon, DVD, 15 December in the US.
Excellent. So guys, check that out. Marie, thank you so much for coming on. And, you tell Coco I say thank you as well. I know that she dropped here for a second, but thank you so much. I will watch your movie. I promise you that. As much as I will probably, the neighbors will hear me screaming, and but I will ensure that I watch, and you guys should all too. And I'll drop the information on how they can connect with you. And so, how would you want people to connect with you personally? Is there do you have a website that you'd like them to be directed to?
Yes, they can check out our Instagram handle, Heks_film, or on Twitter, Heksfilm, or on Facebook, Heks. And this Heks is Heks, which is the Afrikaans spelling for Heks.
Excellent.
So don't get confused. But I'll send you all the details, and then you can we can add it on here.
Absolutely, I will put it in the show notes as well. It looks like, and before we get out of here, it looks like Coco's back.
While you watch the movie, remember this face when you see the witch doctor.
Right.
Then it's fine. Then you won't have to be scared.
Then I won't be as scared, right? Yes. So, well, thanks, Marie. I very much appreciate it, and best of luck in the future. And hopefully maybe I can have you on in the future when you're doing like a what movie that won't.
2.0.
That's right. There you go. 2.0.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roy. I really appreciate it. And we'll listen up to the podcast, and hopefully all your fans will watch our movie and experience it with us.
Absolutely, guys. Go download it, and then we'll hear or watch it. And then Coco, how can people follow you? How can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on my website, cocoloyd.net, or on Instagram. I am Coco Lloyd. I always post updates on there. And apologies, I just had some connection issues.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you guys hopping on, and happy Halloween, right?
Happy Halloween.
That's right. Well, guys, thanks again for coming on, and guys, check out the Heks.
Yes.
So, guys,
thank you so much.
This has been another episode of the Inovare podcast. Thanks for checking out. Go watch the Heks. Go do that. Follow them on Instagram. I followed them on Instagram, and I'm already scared. So go do that. You can watch trailers there. You can see all the images. The movie looks fantastic. Guys, if you want to listen to this episode or previous episodes, go to inovarepodcast.com. We are also on iTunes, Spotify, and 9 other platforms. And if you want to watch podcasts, you can check the Facebook Live or go to YouTube. So, guys, thanks again for hanging out. And until next time, see you.